There has always been beauty trends on TikTok, especially targeting women. But most recently, there is one beauty trend that goes a little hardcore.
For men.
I'm not ugly, but if I was, here's what I would do to make myself more attractive.
I'm talking about mewing. Making sure you breathe correctly so your facial features are more balanced, fixing your hair, becoming bigger, and even breaking your bones so that you can be taller. Let's talk about LooksMaxxing. Hello everybody, it is me, Salem, and welcome back to my channel. How are you guys doing today? Hope you guys are doing good. I hope you guys are drinking water and staying hydrated. I feel really anxious for today's video. I'm bracing for my timbers to be shivered. I have a feeling that this is the type of video where if people disagree with what I'm saying, they're gonna tell me to
Plain traffic.
So if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, let me give you a quick rundown. LooksMaxxing is referring to a movement, lifestyle, and trend that is going super viral on TikTok, but it has been around before TikTok. It actually originated from 4chan and Reddit, which is why I'm scared to talk about this. Please, I have a family and I love my life and I want to stay alive. But basically, it's just referring to the physical improvement of a person's body, bone structure, jawline, facial features, in order to make oneself more attractive and or easier to like. Now, at first glance from your ears is that this doesn't seem like that bad of a trend. And I agree. Except for the fact that it was born in the deep dark corners of the internet we dare not tread. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with people putting a good amount of effort into being healthy, looking healthy. I'm making this video because I think the movement in itself making its way onto TikTok is really surprising and strange, but it makes a lot of sense the more that we deep dive into this movement. I think it has a lot to do with Gen Z culture and their obsession with just beauty standards in general. It can cause people to become really toxic, not only to the people around them, but to themselves, and can be counterproductive to the movement. The weird culture that surrounds LooksMaxxing, where people actively tell other people that they're basically worth absolutely nothing. If you don't look like Chris Hemsworth, then it's all over. Current beauty standards, I feel like, ask people to shoot for the stars and hopefully land on the moon. But LooksMaxxing, they're telling you to launch yourself into the omniverse, and that cannot be further from the truth. So today's gonna be another long one. So get into your pajamas, grab your favorite tea, grab some gum to get that jawline sharp, and let's get into today's video. Before we start talking about all this crazy stuff, let's first talk about love. More specifically, today's sponsor, Love and Pies. So I recently found the most cozy mobile game to cuddle up with on the couch after a long day. It's called Love and Pies, which is a free to download mobile game. The game revolves around a heartwarming story of taking over your mom's cafe. You play as Amelia, a single mom that has to redecorate and build a thriving business by merging ingredients and serving customers. Through gameplay and leveling up and serving customers, you can customize your own cafe to however you like and play as your own business owner. And right now you can join in on seasonal events. I love any game that has to do with baking and decorating, but still has interactive gameplay that makes completing the decorating more interesting. Running the cafe your way, all while unlocking new recipes and new and exciting storylines. Also, I suck at baking in real life, so definitely having a game version of baking sounds a lot funner and easier to me. Decorate your own charming cafe on iOS and Android. And don't forget to go on either your iOS or Android phone or tablet to download Love and Pies free today. And y'all will do it too for a check. Alright, let's get into today's video. Part 1. The rising obsession with beauty in a very low self-esteem generation. Why the LooksMaxxing trend going viral on TikTok makes perfect sense. So like I stated earlier in today's video, LooksMaxxing has been around for a while. The term originated from 4chan forums as well as Reddit forums, with some ties to incel culture, where in these forums and platforms people would tell one another what they can do in order to become more attractive, to have more favor in the dating looksmaxxing world or the world in general. I'm not gonna get too deep into it because I have a family and I want to live, but just know that the origins of looksmaxxing has kind of a dark past to it. So it's kind of weird to see it become a lot more normalized on TikTok through TikTok trends. People have made filters based on looksmaxxing where people can check their ratio of their face to check if they're considered the golden ratio or not. People using filters to determine how attractive they are by percentage. Most recently, there was a filter that was super popular on TikTok but has now been removed. It was the Canthal Tilt filter. Girl, let me see. I typed it in on YouTube to see how to pronounce it, and the first thing that came up was, it says cancel tilt subliminal. I thought those things didn't exist anymore. That gives me the same energy as to when I was 10 and I would go on YouTube and I would type in, watch this video to turn your brown eyes into blue. That's not gonna work.
Domino's, order carry out online or by phone and get any one topping.
Girl, they're not paying me to play all that. Skip ad. Basically, it was this filter that lets you know if you had a negative canthal tilt or a positive one, depending on whether it went up or down. People were talking about how that determines whether you're ugly or not. There's a new filter and new trend every 2 seconds on TikTok that tells people that they're ugly. Next thing you know, breathing is going to be considered ugly. Oh wait, it already is. Because you see, these filters are part of the looksmaxxing culture. And part of looksmaxxing culture is not only the obsession with having a positive canthal tilt, but also something called mewing and avoiding mouth breathing so that you can get the sharpest jawline in the world. And it has definitely spawned a subculture where people are very obsessed with this trend, where it doesn't only stop at looksmaxxing, but there's sleep maxing, water maxing, hair maxing, skin maxing, where there should be one called get a job maxing, but there isn't. So there are some people who take it very, very seriously, and you can tell that they take it very seriously.
I'm not ugly, but if I was, here's what I would do to make myself more attractive. My goal would be 10 to 12% body fat. Do I have straight white teeth? Braces, veneers, whatever they have available, I am getting it for my teeth. If I'm balding, I'm on the first flight to Turkey.
Insufficient funds, you ain't got no money.
The amount of Giga Chad memes and looksmaxxing memes I've seen on TikTok is really crazy. People making fun of the terminology. Why do cats even have jawlines now? I think a lot of people make fun of this movement because honestly, behind everything, the movement is incredibly shallow. Mostly because the people who do take it seriously take it way too far sometimes, where people who aren't even part of the looksmaxxing community will be dragged by them. I ran into a TikTok of a baby just being a baby, and the amount of comments saying he gonna be a mouth breather when he grows up and it's over for little bro. Y'all are evil and you're going to hell. You expect Gen Z to be a little bit more sensitive because they speak all the time about the unfairness of beauty standards and how it can negatively affect people. We are the most hypocritical generation, and we ourselves revive a lot of movements. We revive a lot of toxic beauty trends and things that honestly shouldn't be revived all over again, because we are probably one of the most shallowest generation to ever live currently, like ever. And I don't think people understand that. I actually made a video about this not too long ago, so if you guys want to hear my thoughts on how Gen Z revives toxic beauty standards, you guys can give it a watch. This is the video. I highly recommend it. So I'm honestly not surprised that looksmaxxing, despite it originating from Reddit or 4chan, made its way onto something like TikTok and Gen Z popularizing it without actually knowing where it comes from, because it has to do with the one thing that Gen Z loves the most, which is beauty. And this directly ties into the fact that Gen Z is one of the most self-conscious generations to ever live. Not only are over 40% of Gen Zers diagnosed with a mental health condition, including depression and or anxiety, but with women, 80% of them struggle with self-image issues. Appearance is the top rated anxiety for Generation Z. Over 45% of those surveyed said that they felt extremely anxious about their appearance. And I've said before in many videos that Gen Z is very hyper aware aware of how they look to their own detriment. Trends where you have to check your side profile and is your nose cute? Is your jawline jutting out when no one's watching? Just very hyper aware and self-conscious. It definitely shows that the majority of our generation is super chronically online. Apart from being the most mentally ill generation there is and the most self-conscious, we're also the absolute loneliest and the most hyper aware of how we look. All of these three mixing together creates Gen Z's 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And in order to defeat these 3 horsemen, instead of getting, keeping yourself busy and fulfilled, instead of forgetting so much about yourself and going out of your way to serve others because life isn't always about you, they immediately go to, I need a nose job. That is what's gonna solve all my problems. Because you see, underneath all of this, the feeling like you don't belong, the feeling like the world is cruel, the feeling the pressure to be attractive, is because ultimately when you do give into LooksMaxxing and all of these beauty standards that Gen Z has created, there are rewards to it. We live in a modern day society where young people, very young people, young men and women, feel pressure to be attractive because they know that the world is going to be a little less cruel to them, or that they'll have more opportunities because of that. Science has proven time and time again that more attractive people are treated better, and all of that can make young people, especially those who are susceptible to online cultures that emphasize gaining falsely guaranteed power. Although science and pretty privilege and the halo effect and lookism and LooksMaxxing and all of these things tie together to convince people that the only thing that would solve all your problems is to become better looking, truth is that still isn't guaranteed. I mean, even science contradicts itself all the time. There are so many studies that directly contradict the halo effect, lookism, and pretty privilege, stating that on average, attractive people are actually treated worse than average looking people due to jealousy, comparison, and people associating with how you look to you being rude. Even the beauty standards themselves are always changing every single year, so who knows, maybe the mewing, sharp jawline look won't even be that popular within the next 2 years. So to go around and act as if pretty privilege, LooksMaxxing, and lookism is the ultimate truth, even though science and beauty standards are forever wavering, may not be the best foundation to build so-called fundamental truth on. I think it's totally okay to be in the best shape of your life, be the healthiest you've ever been, and sure, the hottest that you've ever been, and doing so in the name of self-improvement for yourself, but doing so in order to be liked by other people, you're still probably going to fall short. Something that I think a lot of Gen Zers and people who fall for this false narratives of these beauty standards don't understand is that people can get to know you on a surface level, even as an attractive person, and still decide that they don't like you, which if you don't care if they don't like you, more power to you. But the majority of Gen Zers and people with low self-esteem, or those who want to just seek outward improvement, participating in these trends are all participating in these trends to gain something, whether it's power in dating, power in a job, or power over their own negative self-image thoughts. Which even then, I don't think that's a bad thing to want. But if you want it a little too much, and it leads you down a path where you're doing absolutely anything and everything to achieve said power, you start to get obsessed with the tiny details that don't matter, such as, oh no, I have a negative canthal tilt. It's over for me now. I'll never be able to make friends, find love, or my own version of power. Might as well give up on my self-improvement. Like, bro, that shouldn't be the ultimate thing that you focus on. That should encompass your life journey, who you are as a human being, and your worth. But the problem is that Gen Z is constantly telling each other and enabling each other into giving into the thought, the false narrative, that in order to obtain everything that you want, the only thing that's standing between you and your goals is how you look. And that basically self-improvement all goes to waste simply because you do not meet one out of the very many impossible standards out there. Let me tell you this, the journey of self-improvement will never be a waste. Ever. Part 2. Self-improvement is a never-ending journey. Self-improvement on a surface level is a toxic cycle and list of chores that never end. Focusing on overall being a healthier person has so many benefits to it. Focusing on overall personal development, such as obtaining new useful skills, focusing on self-improvement in the terms of gaining knowledge. This community and people who partake in these types of thoughts believe that the only way to improve yourself yourself is on the outside, and that somehow magically the rest will follow through, despite not putting the same amount of effort in these other categories of personal self-growth. If it's helped you become more confident and to make friends and meaningful connections and help you start a health journey, and it has helped you be a lot kinder to yourself, then I say go for it. However, the problem is that the emotions and the false narratives and the toxicity tied into LooksMaxxing only focuses on surface level improvement and convinces so many young men that their potential is over before they even had an opportunity to tap into it, despite there being very successful, accomplished, and confident men out there who defy these standards all the time. Ryan Gosling literally has a negative canthal tilt. Adam Driver is a celebrity that gets a lot of flack from men for being quote-unquote ugly, yet I talk to every woman and they think that he's very attractive. Pedro Pascal has a bigger nose and also a negative canthal tilt, and yet there are girls who are obsessed with him. Robert Pattinson is British and he's considered attractive. So there are people who break the standards of LooksMaxxing all the time, yet aren't considered simply because they break one of the rules. Giving into these trends and this culture causes young men and women to really look at themselves with such harsh eyes. I think we have been so overexposed to people who look completely picture perfect online that we have forgotten how normal everyday human beings look. We have been desensitized to everyday beauty, that we are now calling people who are clearly attractive not attractive enough because they have one little flaw that doesn't meet the standard. Why are people calling Margot Robbie mid? The way that we pick apart people in general, including ourselves, is not normal. It's not just good enough to be regular pretty. You gotta be goddess level pretty. You can't just be healthy and muscular. You gotta be the most muscular guy in the room. But this is literally the type of thinking I see time and time again when it comes to these beauty trends. The amount of defeatist mentality is not normal, and the way that Gen Z compares themselves to absolutely everyone is not okay either. And the worst part is y'all are comparing yourselves to people who have access to the best surgeries, the best skincare, and so on and so forth. To compare yourself to something so unfair literally makes no sense to me. I would never compare myself to Bella Hadid because she's Bella Hadid. Why am I comparing myself to someone who's literally considered the most beautiful woman in the world right now? For what? Just to feel bad? Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Sis is 5'9". I'm 5'3", so to compare my height to her would be completely unfair, and to then even consider breaking my bones to become taller like her would be even more dumb. I used to feel that way. If you told me 2 years ago to sell my kidney for a free BBL, I'm going into the emergency room, bandages and all. Like, guys, I get it. I get the struggle. It's so tempting to not give in, but don't sell yourself so short. There's still so much that you can do for yourself that you'd be surprised at how it can do wonders for your overall well-being once you start looking at yourself beyond surface level and start working on yourself as a whole entity. There's gonna be people who are better than you no matter where you go, and you simply have to get over it. That doesn't mean that you have to give up on your own potential, but it also doesn't mean that if you work hard on yourself, all of that work automatically is a loss simply because someone who is better than you walks into the room. So being obsessed with LooksMaxxing and trying to reach the beauty standard, there is a huge emphasis in external validation is honestly just the craving to fit in and the craving for validation from people who literally do not care about you. I think it's okay to want to desire being a part of society and being part of a group and having friends and everything, but the more that you fall victim to these ever-changing beauty trends, whether you are a man, woman, doesn't matter, it never ends. The ultimate goal for a lot of these trends and lifestyles surrounding beauty is to achieve said beauty, to become the next Giga Chad or the next Bella Hadid, which honestly, again, I think is fine, but just know that it is going to launch you into a never-ending cycle if you let it get way too out of hand. It is a cycle of improving the next thing to improve the next thing to then improve the next thing to then find your next flaw, fixating on insecurities that aren't even real, or fixating on how to fix the new insecurities that the new generations are going to come up with next. Trying to keep up with the next beauty standard. I mean, celebrities are already doing BBL reversals, so that already ended. What happens when the buccal fat removal trend is over? Now there's going to be a surgery to put back the fat into your face. It is a never-ending chase to achieve something that will eventually change, but most importantly, fade. Part 3/final part. Do it for yourself. Gen Z tends to be professionals at not only being hypocrites, but also being people who constantly complain about something that they themselves created. And the more that we put an emphasis and focus and attention and feed the beast that is the dark side of these communities and lifestyles and beauty trends, the more we're going to push the beauty standard from being societally attractive to now being Giga Chad attractive to then being goddess attractive, to the point where we are probably going to make the beauty standard so impossibly high that we're gonna have people walking around looking like biblically accurate angels, okay? The whole thing ultimately is kind of ridiculous, and it's totally okay for you to attain that attractiveness through healthy means. I get it. But if you're doing it out of a place that is very deep and dark, out of pure self-hatred and out of you convincing yourself that if you don't, your life is gonna be over, you're doing it wrong. Because at that point, you are overly focusing on what you are presenting to the world and completely disregarding what you feel as an individual and what's inside of you, seeking external validation, and you are becoming an NPC by doing that, instead of focusing on how you can be an individual and not be a sheep that follows the rest of the herd. And at the end of the day, you can be the most attractive person in the world. If you have an ugly heart and you have a nasty attitude, if you're someone who's selfish, if you're someone who's cruel, all of that beauty on the outside isn't gonna count. I know that sounds crazy because people in these communities are convinced that they will get a slide, and let's be honest, some attractive people do, but ultimately that beauty fades, and at the end of the day, you are gonna be left with what is on the inside. And if what's left on the inside is shallowness, selfishness, and cruelty, then all that work was for nothing. Everything requires balance. There's no point in putting glitter on a piece of crap. In the words of SpongeBob,
all that glitters is not gold.
Or in the words of Bianca Del Rio,
beauty fades, dumb is forever.
Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you watched this entire video, make sure you comment down a duck emoji down below so I know that you watched the entire thing, and because if you did, you're awesome. Remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know whenever I upload. Also, comment down below what your opinions are on LooksMaxxing, on beauty standards, and just, you know, how you feel about it all. Are you pursuing something along those sides? Do you disagree with me? That's fine. You're free to disagree with me. Just don't be a jerk about it, or else I will block you, because this is my platform. If you want to follow me on Instagram, go ahead and do so. I've been posting a lot of stuff about my health there. It's going to be at _Salem Tovar _. Go ahead and follow me on there. I'm trying to reach 60K by the end of the year, so help me really achieve that number. Sometimes I post on TikTok, so you can follow me on there. It's at Salem Tovar. My homework for today is for you guys to just calm down. Have a self-care day, eat well, drink water, go for a walk, listen to your favorite music, turn off your phones. Just turn off your phones, like for real. Also, I realized that me making a video criticizing this movement will put me on the chopping block for lots of people to criticize how I look or whatever. I honestly don't care. I'm already married and way happier than you will ever be, so go ahead and give me the heat. And the more times that you interact with my content guarantees that I get more money so I can have a down payment for a house, so keep it coming. I am gonna get going because I am going to go get a Costco hot dog and then go buy a Christmas tree. Like, it's gonna be the best day ever. Alright guys, that is it for today's video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.